The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar sponsored by OSG. The webinar is titled Customer Experience. Do we know what it means in healthcare? Our presenters today are Jill Wilson, who is our Global Qualitative Leader, and Dr. R. Sukumar, who is the founder and CEO of OSG. I leave it to Jill to introduce herself. Jill?
Yeah, thanks very much, Geeta. So as Geeta said, I'm the Global Qualitative Leader for OSG. Just a very brief synopsis in terms of my background: 20 years in marketing and market research, and I have a keen interest in understanding how we can provide a richer understanding of the customer experience. So, looking at the transactional and emotional journeys that customers undertake, and how capturing the range of motivations, drivers, and also importantly, preferred methods of interaction leads to more meaningful relationships and better engagement. I would also like to just give a brief background to the co-presenter, Dr. Sukumar, who is the president and founder of OSG. He has a marketing career spanning 25 years, and he's been supporting companies in the consumer goods, financial services, hospitality, as well as healthcare industries. Dr. Sukumar has explored how utilising a range of new and emerging technologies can provide a more holistic understanding of the customer, guiding the design of the customer experience, and really looking at a more powerful vehicle to better engage the customer. So, just bear with me 1 second. So just before we explore what it means within the context of healthcare, there's obviously a lot of discussion around the customer experience within healthcare. However, we probably all know that optimizing the customer experience is nothing new outside of healthcare. So if you think about the successes of Amazon, from the outstanding search engine, I'm sure most people have used it. They have the right product at the right price, and they even put forward a personal selection of suggested products for the customer. They even have a range of delivery options from those personal addresses that they save for you. And more recently, you've probably seen as well in your local retail outlet or your local store, they even have a locker now where you can actually go and pick up your order. And what tends to happen as well, if you're confirming your order, it's normally within less than a minute. You have the ability to track an order and receive it in 1 day if needs be. Also looking, at the airline industry, from the online check-in to exceptional service during the flight to really outstanding aftercare service should something not go to plan. But if you look at those examples, it goes beyond simply delivering a product. What they do successfully is fully engage the customer, and critical to this is about being open to customer feedback, both the positive, the negative, and if you look at this slide here, the neutral as well. So I think we have to ask the question before we explore what customer experience means within a healthcare context. I think we also need to challenge the notion of openness. There's a lot of discussion around patient centricity, but do we really want to hear about the experience of patients? Is the pharmacovigilance process, is that a positive route to improving the patient experience, or actually is it a way to close it down? There are some additional challenges as well that the healthcare industry face. So if we look at the traditional service model of delivering a good product at a fair price with a strong distribution and servicing, this was always the route to success. Now, that's simply table stakes. And also traditionally, healthcare has tended to focus on the needs of the healthcare providers and the payers, whereas delivering an optimal experience, we really need to understand the patient, and the patient is critical to that success. it's not all doom and gloom though. I think, you know, if we look at what's been happening, everybody is moving into the digital within, especially within the competitive landscape. You know, if you look at pharma, you know, it's very much something that's top of mind. You know, the manufacturers are citing they really need to do it, need to keep up, and as such, digitalisation is a key growth area with a lot of buzz around it. Many cite the introduction of mobile health platforms as an indication that, you know, healthcare has moved on. And these obviously tend to be more interactive than previously. What I'd like to ask actually, Dr. Sukumo, what are your thoughts on the range of platforms out there? I mean, is this really about enhancing customer engagement and experience?
Well, Jill, I think the mobile health platforms that are out there are predominantly talking one way with the patients in the sense that they provide patients with a lot of information, but often that information is not relevant. And if you're talking about customer experience or patient experience and you want to engage the patient, it's about empowering that patient, it's about empowering that customer to make a decision, to be able to provide instant information back to the pharmaceutical company to help understand how they feel, how they react to the drug, and so on. So mobile health platforms are great from a one-way information perspective. I think the whole idea of patient engagement requires a two-way dialogue between the patient and the platform. And I think this is where new emerging technologies begin to allow that, and allow that in a more careful and private manner.
Okay, just a little bit later, I'd like to cover that in a bit more detail. But I think what I'd like to do as well is just obviously highlight that, you know, it's not that healthcare is closed to understanding the patient and you know, looking at ways to better understand the patient. I thought it was interesting. We wanted to highlight here a quote from, you know, a director of business innovation, and it's a recognised leader in rare diseases. And I just wanted to allow the audience really just to take a couple of seconds to read that quote. Okay, hopefully get a sense of not just what they want to do, but I think the enthusiasm around the whole area of engaging with the patients. But I think that the issue is why hasn't healthcare, you know, I suppose moved more effectively and more quickly to deliver these outstanding customer experiences? And again, Sukumar, do you have any thoughts on that?
So I think, Jill, you've seen the fast-paced digital world. There's new technologies, new ways that data are getting collected. There's humongous amount of data, and there's also the fear of breaches, like what we've seen recently in the US with Equifax. So the fast-paced part of the digital world, the more conservative approaches in pharma, the cautious route of pharma wanting to be careful about when and how to make data, access data, gain data, and how to use it and leverage it. All of this has led to the acceptance of a thorough understanding of patient experience a lot more slower than we would have expected it to be. So it's understanding the increased popularity of digital health among competitors and recognizing the need for a quick response to market changes, which now begins to take us, in the wrong direction. And hopefully, as we begin to understand the patient better, and as we begin to talk about the patient's needs and leverage technology in a more judicious manner, we'll be able to correct some of that. Okay.
It's interesting, actually, I suppose, some of the push and pull within the healthcare arena. I thought it was also worth just emphasising the importance of empowering the patients here. I also wanted to, just reference a report by the King's Fund. It is a widely known report, and it shows that people who recognise that they have a key role in self-managing their condition and have the skills, knowledge and confidence to do so experience better outcomes. I thought what was also interesting in that report, that one American study cited in the report found that the risk of highly activated patients being readmitted to hospital following discharge was almost half that of less activated patients. So this whole principle of empowering the patient is really important, and healthcare have obviously recognised that. So the more engaged patients are in managing their own care, the better the health outcomes and the more positive effect in terms of positive their experience. And it's all about empowering the patient to make the decision. But as you said, there are some more conservative barriers to allow, I suppose, pharma to do that. But ultimately, if we're going to actually better engage the patient, we do need to take a long-term holistic view of the patient. What I'd like, actually, Dr. Sukumar, is just to give us an idea of how that could be done.
Absolutely. I think, here's a very simple framework. The framework's very simple. We will talk about how to operationalize this framework as well. But it all begins with, if you're going to try to actually understand patient experience and see how they're engaged in their care, it always starts with understanding patient expectations. When we look at the Nobel Prize in Economics, Richard Thaler this year, he won the Nobel Prize for the whole idea of the nudge theory, the idea that there are different nudges for different individuals. So it all begins with understanding those expectations that patients have, figuring out what's that right nudge for them, and then designing experiences that begin to address the unmet needs of patients, whether it be in the actual product or in other kinds of interfaces and solutions that you might have to offer them. And through the meaningful interactions based on an understanding of patient expectations, you begin to design a patient experience that is personalized, that is more relevant to each patient, allowing you then to see the outcomes that one desires through much improved patient engagement in the disease. And so we'll talk in a little bit about just how we operationalize this, but it's a very simple framework to begin with understanding patient expectations and then designing experiences that are relevant to those unmet needs of those patients.
Okay, very interesting. I wanted to reference as well, I know it's been said about the 3 E's, and I know later in the discussion we might come back to those 3 areas. So for the audience, maybe just to think about those 3 A's in terms of the road to patient engagement. Just before we go in and tell you a little bit more about some of the sort of the new technologies, I wanted to give you a little bit of background in terms of a platform that's been developed. Smart Patient. It's a patient-centric platform which has several sort of established components. I think it's interesting to look at the history of the platform, and if you look at the top on the right hand side there, some of you may be aware of this. It's the Shared Investigator Platform, SIP, where around about 20 pharmaceutical companies came together to conduct trials across 8,000 to 10,000 clinical sites. The idea was of one common shared investigator platforms, so they could share the training, their procedures, really a collaborative platform, and that was given to Cognizant to run. Following on from the success of that platform, Smart Trials was developed, and that allowed, again, for the sharing of information. So it was a large electronic data platform that pulled the data across all those sites. However, it was recognised that there was something missing here. A very important part was missing, which was a patient-centric platform, which would pull the patients to the clinical trial sites, but also be allowed again to have a more collaborative approach. So it allows for the collaboration with the patients, with the investigators, and with CROs. So it was able to start to triangulate the information that they were getting from those platforms. Building on this collaborative platform, there was clearly a need to provide a more granular understanding of the patients and really capture their individual expectations. You know, if you go back to the previous chart, as you know, as I mentioned, remember the 3 E's. And what we were able to do was to utilize ASAMAT, which is an adaptive self-explicit multi-attribute preference methodology. Very simply, it allows us to capture the individual preferences, desires, choice drivers, which can feed into clinical trials, it can feed into new product developing, and it can, you know, another example is in terms of messaging. And that's very critical. That individual understanding is very critical if we're really going to better engage the patient and have more meaningful interactions. What I also wanted to just recognise as well is it's, you know, not just in terms of the platforms and the methodologies, but it's also important as you look at how you're going to better engage the patients, is get a range of perspectives. And we have an advisory council as well for smart patients. So it's really making sure we're in tune with thought leaders within the industry. And I'm just hoping, Dr. Sukumar, you can tell us a little bit more about the individuals. Some of you, they're quite well known, you might know them already, but it would be great to get some more background on them.
Absolutely. I think you see your 3 gentlemen who are from pharma, very closely involved with clinical operations, clinical trial operations. One of them is retired from Eli Lilly, formed Patients Can't Wait. These 3 gentlemen out of pharma gave us tremendous amount of input as we built and developed what we look at in the form of smart patient. Additionally, you know, an advice from a patient himself would be very valuable, and this is where Jack Wellen, who's a survivor of a rare incurable blood cancer, very closely participated in the development of what we do, and Jack appreciates the importance of listening to patients like him and listening to and being able to get the feedback and input from patients like him and ways to engage them and ways to develop experiences that are more meaningful for them. Collectively, this council is very powerful and help provide a lot of deep input for us in terms of developing smart patient, being able to capture the voices, the sentiments, the feelings of patients, and then in encompassing all of that using AceMap as a technology to understand what are patients' needs, how do you set the right kind of experiences based on what matters to them, and then through that process being able to collect information in a bi-directional dialogue, allowing us to build something that is more enhanced than traditional mobile health platforms where information is unidirectional. So again, these gentlemen have astonishing backgrounds, have worked extensively in this area and provided great input, as you'll see in some of the aspects of smart patient that we operationalize next.
Could you also, as well, just touch on the new emerging technologies that smart platforms using?
Absolutely. Smart Patient leverages, as I said earlier on, various kinds of structured and unstructured data. So everything from text, speech, recognition of facial expressions, so you have a good understanding for how the patient feels or how the patient is, the kind of quality of life they might be having. And then we leverage tools like IBM Watson to analyze this kind of unstructured data to get a better sense for what are the patients experiencing today, what are the expectations, All of this brought together using a simple device that you will see on the next screen, that is a smartphone that allows us to, with patient permission, be able to leverage this kind of information from the patient. So the smartphone is a tool that allows us to integrate and get a 360-degree view on the patient, ranging from their clinicals with their permission. So this is HIPAA compliant and also has various kinds of high-level data security and privacy issues taken care of. This allows them to complete patient-reported outcomes questionnaires. It allows us to understand what their expectations are while they are on certain treatments or therapies, and also integrates data from other kinds of variables that capture their sleep patterns or their health patterns, allowing us then to capture all of this information on the patient, about the patient, be able to analyze that information to help improve the experiences for the patient and make that data available both in a clinical trial setting as well as in post-commercialization settings, be able to make that level of data and analytics available to the patient, to the investigator or their own physicians, as well as to pharmaceutical companies in the right appropriate fashion, so they can have a better sense for how to improve patient experience. So this whole idea of integrating both structured and unstructured data with patient permission is very, very powerful through the use of a tool that we all today know and recognize and have come to live with. We go to bed with it, we wake up, we use it, it's always with us. This view of the smart patient has been very successful in being able to bring all of that data for us to analyze.
I just wanted to understand as well, you know, we've shown the sponsor views there, but what's the power of the data for the sponsor?
The power of the data for the sponsor is to understand across the globe, because this is, again, a multilingual tool. You can also understand patient experiences across the globe. You could clearly identify in which patients or patient cohorts are things, as a patient experiencing a positive experience with the drug, with the treatments for their disease, with the information that is being given to them, the support programs that are being given to them. They're in a position to look at and improve and understand and develop new ways to engage the patient, or new ways to improve the experience towards the patient, and thereby be able to deliver a superior engagement. The power of the analytics in real time, the power of the use of the analytics in real time to help improve patient experience is unmatched in this particular tool.
Okay, great. I'm just conscious of time, but I'm just thinking to conclude. Could you talk us through this case study? And again, I suppose it just helps to highlight that 3Es framework. If you could give us an overview.
Absolutely. This is a case study of a large biopharmaceutical company that wanted to get into biosimilars in both oncology and immunology, and as they began to develop biosimilars for these biologics, when they came to us, the whole question around was, how do they understand what makes up their brand and what kind of experiences patients ought to have with their particular brand. We used the simple 3Es framework and began to develop a good, thorough understanding of expectations of all the stakeholders: patients, physicians, payers, pharmacists, and through that developed experiences that would make the brand stand out and the brand experience to be unique and very well differentiated. Post that, the ability to actually track this information both among physicians as well as patients on a continuous basis as the drugs were launched, and patients and physicians are in a position to provide the kind of data to get us a better sense for what's working for those who are quote unquote promoters of the experience versus those that don't feel the experiences are going well, and how can we continuously improve in order to drive all of this analytics towards a superior experience both for the patients and physicians.
Okay, and could you just leave us with some final thoughts on the guiding principles from your perspective to optimizing that patient and that customer experience?
Absolutely. I think, and this is a discussion that I've had with many executives, both in pharma as well as spoken at several conferences and webinars. The route to a superior customer engagement comes from 5 simple thought processes. Number 1, empower the patient. Allow the patient to provide permission-based access to their clinicals or to their day-to-day experiences. Leverage technology, and particularly digital technology, to get a 360-degree view on the patient or the physician, to understand their expectations and their needs, and to build experiences that are superior. To this regard, absolutely capture the expectations. If you don't understand and personalize experiences to patient or physician expectations, you will be designing programs or be looking at experiences that don't match those expectations. So capture the expectations, that's very critical. The next I would say is personalize the experiences. The more that we can deliver information, insight, and incentives, the right kind of incentives to engage patients to be involved in their treatment and their care, such personalized experiences can only lead to superior engagement. And finally, it's very critical that this is a cross-functional effort, not an individual department or silo effort. This really amounts to bringing medical, regulatory, digital marketing, commercial folks all together, clinical folks all together, to leverage the patient, the empowered patient, to leverage the data and the analytics that come out of the patient's willingness to provide that information, and then to create a superior experience for the patient. It's a change management exercise. It is for us to move from our conservative past in pharma to a new world, allowing us to create superior patient experiences.
Great. I know we're just getting to the end of our webinar, but I think we've got a couple of minutes to take any questions from the audience.
Thank you, Jill and Dr. Sukumar, for a very interesting presentation. So we have a couple of questions, Jill. How do you recruit patients to participate in a customer experience study? And can you also address how you handle adverse events?
Sure. The Smart Patient tool itself, I'll answer the second question, welcomes any mentions of adverse events. That's part of understanding that you have a problem. I mean, Jill talked a little bit earlier about Amazon and the superior experience they developed. They did have their own share of adverse events. They had consumers who return products, consumers who don't receive products on time. Those could be considered as adverse events in the consumer world. And in a similar way in pharmaceuticals, why should we be afraid of adverse events? We should be in a position to collect that information and go through the same process of being able to have the sponsor or the pharmaceutical company recognize what those adverse events are and take appropriate action. So adverse events are treated like normal course of in which adverse events are treated. Patient recruiting is a good question that you ask. The patient recruiting is handled by recruiting them at numerous sites. They could be at with the providers, it could be from hospitals. Because all of this is done with patient permission, it is a easy and quick way to identify communities of patients at different locations, including advocacy groups, and allow them democratically to participate in providing the information and being able to then be part of a community that sees continuous improvement in the experience that they experience that they get. So clearly, it's multiple sources. It's a democratic process. We get a fairly sizable patient community or sample. It's not necessarily a census that participates in the smart patient. You can see numbers like 1,000, 1,500, which are adequate for us to start to begin to understand their expectations and how we can personalize those experiences.
Thank you, Dr. Sukumar. Final question. How far away are we from the pharma industry pricing being directly tied to pay for performance, much like healthcare in Western Europe and increasingly in the United States?
I think we're not far away from there. In the United States, there's a lot of pressure on the healthcare system to pay for performance. A tool like this, a system like this, can actually deliver the ability to demonstrate that performance was actually delivered, or performance could be improved by addressing specific elements. A tool like Smart Patient can measure and administer that sort of a pricing structure on a pay-for-performance basis.
Thank you, Dr. Sukumar and Jill. That was a wonderful presentation. To the audience, if you want to contact either Jill or Dr. Sukumar, we have the contact information. We will also have a recording of this presentation on our website, www.osganalytics.com, in just a few days. With that, we conclude this presentation and wish you all a very good rest of the day. Thank you.